So, this video is to respond to a comment that I got on my very first video. Like, I can't believe people found my channel already. I want to respond with compassion, and then also I want to respond with compassion, but my response is going to be more of the same. So this is the comment. Hey Golden, I find it unfortunate that you would rather be an other in a space that was not created for your phenotype versus embracing communities of monoracial / unambiguous Black women like yourself. I'm a dark brown woman who benefits from pretty privilege, and I also have people of all skin tones in my family. So could you please explain to me how you and I are not closer in experience than you are to a community for mixed / biracial women? And, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for your comment. Thank you for watching me and listening to what I had to say. I can't explain it either because it wasn't what I was expecting. I certainly never thought that being an unambiguous Black girl with 4C hair, not butt length 4C hair either, I wouldn't have thought that my actual experiences in life would be more similar to the comment section of a Chrissy video bashing biracial women and mixed women. I never thought that either. Like I would, if this were not my reality, I would think I was crazy too and in denial. But my experiences are so similar to Exotical Unite. I have stories that can parallel almost every story she's ever told on her channel, with the exception of having that conversation with her father where she had to tell him, look, you're the reason I don't have the same experiences as you. You chose to partner with someone and create unambiguous looking kids, and now I don't know what you're talking about when you start talking about things that don't relate to how I've experienced life. And so I just want to give like an anecdotal experience to kind of highlight where I'm coming from. In grad school, for example, I went to a top 10 PWI and for undergrad. And one of the things that I always regretted was that I didn't have like this super blackety Black Student Union experience. And so when I went to grad school, I was looking for the Black girls. Okay, I was looking for them. I only had eyes for them. I only wanted to be friends with them. And when I tell you they were so mean, with the exception of girls who were ahead of me in the program, nasty, mean, rude. And do you know how and why it all started? It all started because of a guy who went to Morehouse. One of the 5, actually, hold on. It was between, I think it was 5 Black women in my class, in my section. And between like one of the 5 Black women in the matriculating class, she had divested before divested was a thing. Okay, she was over there with like all her friends, and she has continued this course throughout me knowing her. She never was kicking it with the Black girls, and I didn't like her because I clocked it right away that she was avoiding. At the time, I thought it was us that she was avoiding. And anyways, going back to why my effort to I had excluded everybody else. I was really just trying to have that Black student experience in grad school that I felt I had missed out on in undergrad. And so one of the girls in that group, our study group, started liking this guy from Morehouse. And because of that, I don't know if I had one too many conversations with him. I don't know what it was, but he and I had easy banter. He was just fun, cool to talk to, real cool, nice guy. Never, very respectful, nothing bad to say about him. But I don't know what they clocked or what they peeped in our interactions. But my only intention was to be friends with him. And they started leaving me out of the study groups. Just acting different when we were together, withholding study notes, everything I learned, every tip, trick, helpful tool that I learned, I was taking it back to the study group. And then I would find out that they had met without me, and just like a lot of petty stuff. And do you know what ended up happening? Now, one thing about me, I have good self-esteem. So once I figure out you're not interested in being friends, you ain't got to worry about me. No need to worry about me. I will not force my friendship on anyone. So I read the room and got up out their way. And then I was just like a little, I was alone at that point, a little free agent, and maybe the Black guys that I knew. But, and again, like the upperclassmen who had befriended us and mentored us. So ended up happening, the Black girl who I did not like, ended up becoming my friend. Turns out she wasn't avoiding me. She had figured out she didn't want to be friends with those girls who ended up not even being great friends to begin with. And then I think she was in her friendship group. There was a white girl, a Middle Eastern girl, a South Asian girl, her, and then me. And they were the nicest girls. They were so sweet and so helpful. They were everything I had wanted my all Black girl group to be. Now, was I the lightest girl in that girl group? No. Was I the thinnest? Yes. I'm talking about the original girl group where I was rejected and treated real mean. I wasn't the lightest. Was my hair the longest? No. At this time, I was even wearing a fro. But my experience, even though, there was a girl lighter, but also much bigger, and the other girls were, they just weren't look-centered. They weren't interested in doing more to look more together. They just came as they were. And I grew up on Dreamgirls, and I liked a certain look, and I was heavy into the natural hair movement. So I felt like because I had natural hair, I had to do even more in terms of just making sure my look was cohesive. So I was putting in work, and I was showing up to class, and I'm not comfortable with the term pretty privilege yet. But I can say, looking back, the only thing I had done to those women was exist. I had been a good friend. I had been solid, helpful, kind. And that experience is not an isolated experience. So when I would read like the comment section of, and I hate to keep talking about Chrissy, when I would read the comment section of her videos, the experiences of the women that she would be like, we don't care about them light-skinned tears. As a brown woman, light brown woman, my experiences were more like the experiences that she didn't care nothing about. Excuse me. And that has been a pattern for me. I've had like experiences where I don't want to just say like it's all like darker skinned monoracial women, mixed women, white women. I've had experiences where they've been just as mean and hateful, but whoever you're around the most, those are the experience. You're gonna have more experiences with whoever you're around the most, and it's not relegated to age. I've had experiences where older women were triggered, let's just say. I've had experience with where even on occasion a couple of younger women, younger than me, triggered, and all for the male gaze each and every time. And so her content was therapeutic for me, because even though I wanted to dismiss her content, I wanted to dismiss Exoticals United's content for the simple reason that her name is Exoticals United. I'm not that girl. However, I listened to it out of curiosity, and it resonated. Her experiences resonated. And I do feel like, even though she's very clear on who her target audience is, mixed race women, dark-skinned mixed race women, light-skinned mixed race women, and golden women of all shades who've experienced maltreatment just for their phenotype and aesthetic, colorism, complexion. What she's really making is pretty girl content. When she says, hey, pretty girls, and she talks about pretty girl privilege, there is a conversation that mothers need to have with their daughters before they release them into the world. And they have these nice little girls that they release into the world, and all of a sudden, all of the things that make a person have quote unquote good character, not being two-faced, not being petty, being a girl's girl, being supportive, those things don't work when you're dealing with women who are insecure, when you're dealing with women who, in the voice of Ayanla, haven't done the work. They're gonna be as nasty and petty and mean and rude as they are unevolved. Their lack of confidence is not going to make them be less triggered by a woman who is light brown versus a woman who is mixed. And I think that's pretty much what I've experienced. And I grew up with a mother who did not put any emphasis on appearance and looks. She wanted me to look neat and together, but there was no one, in my life telling me, oh, how pretty I was. And same for my sisters. Nobody was really like highlighting looks. It was really about grades over here. And so, just imagine my surprise when I started hanging out, really, really started hanging out after high school, because I was also a bit sheltered. And I was, it was coming back to me like that people were saying, girls were saying that I was stuck up and just little mean things like that. And I was talking to a guy I'll never forget. And I was just so confused, and like, I was 19, so I was actually devastated that, as I'm trying to make new friends, new girlfriends, that the feedback was that I was stuck up and that they really didn't like me. And he was just like, don't even really worry about it. It's just because you're pretty. And I was shocked, because since when does a person's appearance matter more than they're nice? When does a person's appearance matter more than that they're generous with their time? Whatever I had, like, I was willing to share. Like, when does it matter more that she look a certain way than you can trust her with your secrets? When when does her appearance trump the fact that she's just a good friend? And so he could speak from that vantage point of like, really the conversation my mother should have had with me, but didn't, because she wasn't look-centered. Although I look just like her, my sisters look more like my dad, who's darker skinned. But he had the conversation my mother should have had with me. And after that, I don't know, like, I think he was able to speak to me that way because he had an older sister who was also, light brown, pretty girl, nice, sweet. But probably he had seen her go through a lot of things with friends, trying to befriend other women, other young women. And he could say, like, they're being mean to my sister because of this, because my sister's really nice. And understood, like, her experiences to share with me, like, you're not stuck up. You've done nothing wrong. You're just pretty, and that's it. That's the problem. And so that was the start of it for me, because I had never really put a lot of thought into what it meant in terms of friendship with other women, like what your appearance meant. I had just thought like about it from what type of friend do I want to be, and what are my deal breakers as far as it relates to friendship, and how do I want to be treated? Let me treat my friends the same way. I had not thought about what it could mean to be perceived as taking attention away from another woman, and like how mean and nasty they can be if they see you as someone who could potentially take attention off them. And so through the course of my life, in my 30s now, I have been very much, I don't want no smoke. Let me sit in the back. Let me be quiet, and let me leave, as soon as this is over. As far as like my clothing, I've gone through a lot of toil trying to make sure that if I'm dependent on the space, that nothing about like my appearance screams I want attention, almost to downplay things, not trying to draw attention to myself. And for a while that works, for a while but eventually people are going to get to you. And I'll never forget, like, one of the videos that Exoticals United made, she talked about how when you are a pretty woman and you're usually focused on you, things having to do with you, whether that's self-development, whether that's your diet, whether, whatever it is, you have hobbies and routines and a certain amount of discipline as it relates to those things. And she was just saying how women like that don't have time to pick apart other women, and I've been picked apart. I've been in circles, little group huddles with women, and then all of a sudden they ask me, is my hair real? Or they ask me just something out the way that is a telltale pick me type thing to say to try to detract from whatever shine or whatever. I remember one time, and this was a darker skinned woman. I was just minding my own business in a sundress, and she asked me, do you know you have cellulite? I have a black girl body, by the way. And I was like 20 years old. I didn't have enough dimples in my butt to even mention. But she was older than me and she was darker than me. And she was literally picking me apart for no reason. Like that. And then, like, I could go on. I have so many experiences. I have so many experiences that have resulted in me kind of going into my shell, having a very, very tight, close-knit group of girls, light-skinned girls and dark-skinned girls included, and my sisters who are darker skinned. I can be friends with any woman who's confident. I can be friends with any woman who has healthy self-esteem, light, dark, or otherwise. But it has been my experience that for whatever type of woman I am, I have experienced the type of pettiness and like meanness that comes from women who are triggered by something about me. And those experiences were addressed by Exoticals United in a way that dark girls didn't address them, light girls didn't address them. Certainly the colorism content on YouTube did not speak to me in the way in which her content and the content creators who are now making content because of her, like, so that is how I ended up being in her space and feeling welcomed by her and feeling like she understood what I've gone through and what I've gone through. And the result of that is definitely a dummying down of me as a woman, and an isolating of myself in many ways because of not wanting to experience, that meanness that's so uncalled for, that's totally based on superficial reasons. I do have friends. And again, I have friends who are darker than me. I have sisters who are darker than me. And they treat me wonderful. They are confident. They are beautiful. They are intelligent. They are not triggered. And if they are triggered, it's probably no more than I have been by them. And when you are a good girl, a girl's girl, you don't allow yourself to continue along, and you don't allow if you have a jealous feeling, you don't feed that. You take care of that and you say, hey, I love my friend. It is beneath me to feel jealousy towards her or any woman. It is beneath me to take my eye off my own good traits, good qualities, good things, and then put the emphasis on that person's good things. And I don't know what came along with that. So, all it is to say, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. There are things I'm still not comfortable saying yet because this is only video 2, but I'm sure that as time goes on, like, I'll share like more of my own experiences and more response videos and more videos based on the comment section. But before I close this one out, I do want to say this too. I've kind of hinted at it, but when you are a lighter brown skinned woman and you have dark skinned sisters and dark skinned women who are wonderful to you, who love you and are friends, like just so close, they're like sisters, it is very difficult to not see the hypocrisy in white supremacy, which has said that the darker you are, the less attractive you are. It is very hard to hear that, see that played out in real life and not sympathize and empathize with their experiences, so much so that you take them on. And that's what I did. And that's why I was such a fan of Chrissy's and, just caping for just how unfair it is that just because you're darker, automatically people have negative things to say, or you're pretty for a dark, like all of that type of stuff. When you have sisters who go through that and you know how beautiful they are inside and out, and you're not colorist, so you're not blinded by anything, and you see the beauty in their rich melon, like you see their beauty, you see it, but you know that they're still going to be said, you're pretty for a dark girl, or people are going to discredit their beauty because we live in a colorist society. You can become so, you can identify so much with their plight, that you start to own it and feel that it applies to you, especially as an unambiguous Black woman with Black girl features and 4C hair. So when I support, or when I'm an anti-colorist and I don't allow men or anyone else to say negative things about a woman's beauty or lack thereof based on her complexion, that will not change. That will not change. But whether it's colorism or pretty girl privilege or both, I cannot continue to ignore the ways in which I have been impacted by colorism. On the flip side, I can't continue to make myself small and try to be invisible just because another person who hasn't done the work on themselves is triggered, and that's kind of why Exoticals United, her content resonated with me so much, because she was talking about it. She was talking her talk, and she was explaining my life. She was singing my song through her terrible experiences, that she'd gone through for either colorism or because of her attractiveness. And it just, I could not hear her content and hear her experiences and then see her say, hey, I'm not like the producers or dark girls and light girls who don't recognize that there are golden brown girls, light brown girls who they're not represented. And unfortunately, more often than not, depending on how society has placed them on the attractiveness scale, their experiences are going to be more akin to light girls. And just like she talks a lot about Somali women and Horn African features, and how when you have a dark skinned woman who has features that are more keen, more Eurocentric or European like features, her experience in the world is different, than even a light skinned woman with trademark African type features. We weren't ready to hear those things, and I think that's why it was so refreshing, because she literally doesn't leave anyone out. And if you are a woman who is confident and, as she says, one of her pretty girls, there's value in her channel. And so I didn't, as much as I entered that space thinking it wasn't going to be for me, because the commenter put emphasis on us, how could you feel more in alignment with her plight because she's a mixed woman than you are with monoracial women. Again, I wouldn't know, but that has been the experience. And maybe I don't know. this is going to continue to be a faceless channel, but the women you see on like these images, I'm reusing the same ones. Like, she could be my cousin or my auntie, this woman. And I was, very intentional about the images that I chose, because all the women that I chose are just light brown women with black girl features. But thank you again for listening, and I appreciate the comments so much. Like, my heart was like, I don't know, like, I really appreciated people commenting and sharing, and whether it makes sense or not, just the fact that you heard me out, thank you for that. And I don't have an outro, I don't have an intro. But this has been super cathartic, and I really appreciate that a space exists. And again, I responded to her siren call. And yeah, that's it. That's all for now. Not me closing it out and then coming back to overemphasize the fact that as an unambiguous, and earlier in the video, I said that Exoticals United made a statement to her father about him creating unambiguous children, and I meant to say ambiguous, but to bring it back to why I reopened it and like picked my app back up and everything, I need to overemphasize that I have sisters and friends who are dark-skinned women of varying sizes, plus size, some are very thin, and because we are all confident women, we are all women who have done the work, so to speak, we get along and would do pretty much just whatever needs to be done for each other. And unconditional love, friendships have been through ups and downs, but never to the extent where I did not feel like they wished me well. And it didn't, and that is, again, different complexions, different sizes, different body types. The only thing in common we all have, for the most part, is that we're confident and we have lives that don't center around the male gaze, and we have genuine love for each other that's not predicated on superficial things. And so I don't want to give the impression that there's any type of superiority complex as it relates to complexion, as it relates to body type. But as I share my own experience, I will often describe like who did it. I never drop names, but I will describe like the phenotypes and the physical description of whoever I'm discussing. And I did that earlier in this video, and I just wanted to come back and just, again, I'm a girl's girl. And I think that this type of content is the missing piece from the Light Girls documentary and the Dark Girls documentary. There needs to be a space where, like, you talk about things that relate to women who are just paperback brown and phenotypically black and don't fall neatly into either category, but who have lived and have experiences that relate to all of the hot topics that are being discussed by Exoticals United. Thanks for listening.